Hi guys, my name is Lunar and welcome to the Skyrim Special Edition character build video, where today we will be focusing on making a build around playing as a werewolf. Now this is a very difficult build, but we have tried our best. The game is not really set up to make playing a werewolf as an actual main character, for some reason, but we can still try. Also, there are many exploits that can be used to help you in the form, but we didn't use any of them in this build. It's a pure legit werewolf character build. So first off guys, I want to tell you why this is a tough character build to do. Being a werewolf is not like it is with something like a vampire build for example, where you contract the vampirism disease, but you can always play as a vampire with new perks and abilities, never having to reach the vampire large stage. However, lycanthropy does not really offer any benefits to you, so playing as a character who has the disease is not really any different, meaning that the build will have to be focused on when you transform into a werewolf. So that is actually when you see some changes. But of course that comes with its own difficulties. You need to have good skills and perks in order to survive in human form. After all, you cannot be a werewolf at all times, as you can't interact with the world, you can only attack and move. On the other hand, none of your skills and perks as a human transfer to your werewolf character once you transform, so essentially you're naked as a wolf and you don't get any benefits from weapons or armor perks. In this build we have tried our best to come up with a function and playstyle that serves you well in both human form, but also gets you the most out of playing as a werewolf as much as possible. So as always, we will start with the backstory and then delve into the inner workings of the skills and abilities of what is essentially a complicated build. Of course, as always, all the sections are timestamped in the description for your convenience, so if you don't care about one of the sections, you can always just skip ahead. So let's take a look at a bit about our character and their backstory. Everything's for sale, my friend, everything. If I had a sister, I'd sell her in a second, joked Belethor. Only he did have a sister, and that's exactly what he planned to do. The journey to Whiterun had been treacherous, and the gold that had been raised for travel and wares had been plundered on the road. His customer, a hooded man who stood straight-backed, was looking to offload some curiosities, and Belethor was the closest thing this backwater had to a pawnbroker. "Do you have a sister?" the man had asked suddenly, all thoughts of selling abandoned. Belethor swallowed hard. "I do. My only living relation, as a matter of fact." "Is she for sale?" he asked. Belethor laughed nervously. "Everything is for sale." The buying and selling of people was of course illegal in Skyrim. Unless enough gold passed hands and the deed called a dowry, Belethor counted his gains and waved goodbye from his new storefront as the hooded man had fled towards the north, his new wife in tow. For days they rode, deep into the mountains where his ancient estate lay. Hircine, the Daedric prince of the hunt, would be displeased with the man for paying in gold for his prize. He should have stalked and hunted her in the ancient way, dominating her with his warrior's prowess. Yet he, like his keep, was old and forgotten. Once home to the mightiest jarls in Skyrim, each winter saw it grow more derelict. His wives had given him many sons, all of whom carried on his ancient bloodline. Some were beautiful and strong, mighty nards as he was. Others were clever and quick as Imperials often are. Some were adept at magic, mighty with their spells. Some were useless abominations to be offered as a sacrifice to Hircine. He had daughters also, not that he gave them much thought. His Breton wife proved unyielding and she bore him a single child. To his mighty displeasure, the child was female and yet another useless mouth to feed. The years passed and he did not trouble himself with another Breton wife, not after this one had proven to be such a waste of coin. His child by her became forgotten amongst the ranks of his daughters, who worked silently to keep his estate clean and his sons fed. The daughter grew up loathing her father, the man who had brought her into the world to be a servant. If what he had said was true, then she too shared the bloodline of the ancient Jarl, yet she would not be permitted to step foot in the training yard. She loathed her brothers, who did not see her as kin. She loathed her sisters, who acted as her taskmasters. Her days were cold and lonely, and each night passed in a haze of nightmares as she slept. Yet as the daughter became a young woman, magic grew within her. Each full moon her father would go hunting in the forest, and magic would quiver to life inside of her. Candlelight would spring from nowhere to light up the dark, and she could turn her flesh to stone whenever she was beaten. Her beauty grew along with her power, and her sisters grew more and more hateful of her every day. They gave her the worst jobs of all, and skeevers gnawed at her as she was forced to traverse the sewers. She asked Hircine to protect her, and not a single illness befell her in the fetid darkness of the cistern. Feeling blessed, she decided to repay him in the only way she knew how, by hunting and killing the skeevers as tribute. Soon the diseased rats were piled high in the darkness. The daughter stared at her work inspired. Secretly she carried the bloated corpses up to the kitchen, skinning and boning them as she had so many rabbits before. Pound upon pound of stinking rat flesh she threw into a pot, disgusting the rotting flavour with spices so powerful not even a wolf would smell anything rotten. Hungry, her brothers ate the stew, her sisters followed until only the dregs were left. She watched them eat from the shadows and knew in her heart that Hircine required only last trophy from her. The daughter had never left the keep before, but like a beast stalking its prey, she followed her senses through the trees to where her quarry waited. Wolves howled in the distance and bears growled loudly, yet all gave her a wide berth as she moved silently through the forest. There was a village not far from the castle, and she heard the people screaming as a monstrous beast howled from within. Hideous and twisted, with grey fur sprouting from his flesh, was the monstrous form of her father. Those silver eyes regarded her with familiarity, and with an almighty howl it charged towards her. She turned her flesh to ebony as it tried to sink its teeth into her throat, and she felt his fangs shattered against her. Unperturbed, the daughter summoned her brightest light and blinded the creature where he stood. The daughter stood, her father's own ebony sword in hand. With every ounce of strength she could muster, she charged at him, jabbing that dark blade so firmly into his heart that he died without another breath. She left the blade where she had sheathed it, panting and terrified at what she had done. The daughter allowed her flesh to return to normal, and only then did she become aware of the pain in her neck. Her scene, it seemed, had decided to reward her. So guys, now we know a little bit about how our character became a werewolf, and a little bit about her past. So now we can take a look at what kind of character we actually are. Cold and hardy Skyrim, with its barren landscapes and mighty warriors, is perhaps not the first location that springs to mind when it comes to the magically inclined. Yet there are few Bretons dotted across the land. Natives of provinces of High Rock, this race has both human and elven ancestry. They are natural, intelligent, and gifted in the arcane arts, often taking up roles as court wizards, merchants, or as dedicated students of magic of the College of Winterhold. That being said, Bretons can also make for mighty warriors. They have the ability Dragon Skin, that absorbs 50% of hostile spells for 60 seconds, as well as 25% resistance to magicka at any given time. This proclivity for magic and capacity to absorb damage makes the Breton ideal candidate for lycanthropy. Not only do alteration spells cast pre-transformation carry forward, but the added bonuses of 100% disease immunity means that Breton Werewolf has pretty much nothing to worry about as they traverse the wilds. Moreover, as the Dawnguard expansion introduces the lycanthropy perk tree into the game, there are a raft of perks that can be activated by consuming the hearts of corpses. This includes increased stamina and health, the ability to call allies, and incremental increases to strength while in beast form. So we can combine our lycanthropy werewolf abilities and our natural talents as a Breton in order to create a unique build for a werewolf character. Our build focuses all around being a werewolf, and while yes, it's true many perks and abilities don't work in beast form, what does still work in beast form are alteration skills such as Ebony Flesh, which boost your armor rating, if cast before transforming that is. So with that in mind, we can focus our entire build around shoring up the werewolf's defenses to both physical and magical damage. So let's take a look exactly how we can do this. With the introduction of the Dawnguard DLC, at level 46 you will have an armor rating of 400 in beast form, so that combined with the use of Ebony Flesh will make it so you reach the armor cap in beast form. Along with a natural strong attack, high stamina, and what you will see in a few minutes really high health, as we plan to sink a lot of our level up points into health, you can become a pretty deadly werewolf. Well, as much as possible anyway. Remember that you can transform into a werewolf in game by simply waiting 24 hours, it will only take a few seconds and you can transform again. The same applies for when you are in beast form, you can transform into a human much quicker if you just wait 24 hours. So we can spend a lot of time in beast form in the build, and only a small amount of time in human form, but we still need to sink some skills in human form as we can't be a beast all of the time. So let's take a look at the skills, spells, and perks that we're going to be using in order to get us to be the best surviving and deadly werewolf that we can possibly be. For race, our werewolf is a Breton. While you can use an Altmer, Khajiit, or Argonian for the build, our specific sap is going to require that Breton's unique racial ability, which is the 25% magic damage resistance. And that's going to help us out in our magic damage resistance. After all, the build is all about shoring up our defenses in beast form. So keep that in mind, we will get back to this one in a minute after we look at some other things. Whenever we level up, we want to distribute our points as follows, and this part is really subjective to how often you want to transform into a wolf. If you plan to play as a wolf as much as possible, which is kind of what this build is geared towards, then despite our main skill for this build, which is actually going to be Alteration, we are not going to sink many points into magicka. This is because you only need magicka to cast a few spells before transforming, and that can be easily achieved with other things such as robes and potions. For stamina, wolves have a boost of 100 to stamina and faster stamina regeneration, so no points are needed there either. In fact, every time you level up, all points should be invested into health. If you plan to play a wolf a bit less and use your magicka a bit more in human form, then by all means do 2 to health and 1 to magicka, definitely none to stamina though. Additional skills and powers can be gained from standing stones and shrines as well. For a standing stone we went with the large stone, and here's why. The large stone provides 50 additional points of armor rating and 25% magic resistance. So overall, the Breton's racial ability of 25% magic resistance combined with the large stone and the Alteration perk magic resistance, and once you get the Agent of Mana perk from completing the quest The Book of Love, you will have a 95% magic resistance on you, which also applies to you when you are in beast form as well, so you pretty much absorb most magicka. The large stone also works with physical damage as well. Combined with the Mage Armor perk and the use of Ebony Flesh while in beast form, you will reach the armor cap if you're level 40 or higher, so the large stone is perfect for this build in helping us reach maximum damage resistance for both magic and physical damage. So hopefully that all makes sense to you. Alright, so we can jump into our character's main perks for around the first 50 levels. As you know, our main perk focuses around the Alteration tree. For perks in this tree, I won't lie to you, you pretty much want to unlock all of them as quick as possible. The only skill not necessary in this is Master Alteration perk, as the only skill this will help you unlock is Dragonhide and Mass Paralysis, which you will never use. Ebony Flesh will get you to the armor cap, so Dragonhide is not important. Also, Ebony Flesh lasts longer and requires far less magicka to use, so is more useful. Our second most important skill tree is going to be Alchemy. Stick to the right hand side of this tree only, as we have no need for poisons. Only put 1 point into the Experimenter perk as well, as simply a way to reach the next perks. We don't really need that one either. But the rest of the perks in this tree are important for our build. For example, using a strong Fortify Alteration potion, combined with the Alteration perk Stability and Dual Casting, can make your Ebony Flesh spell last for over 7 minutes. Extremely useful for our character. Also, the potion of Muffle and Invisibility, for example, still work when you transform into a wolf, so keep that in mind. Our third most important skill is Enchanting. Since we are not increasing our magicka, we do require some double enchanting on some of our clothing, and we will get into that in the weapons and armor section. However, from this tree you want to make sure you unlock the ability to double enchant and increase enchantments in magicka, stamina and health. Combined with Fortify enchantment potions when we make our items, we can get some decent enchantments on our armor. Next is Restoration. The first 3 skills are kind of vital to the build. The rest of these perks we need are from the various magic trees, starting with the next most important, which is Restoration. You want to unlock the perks Recovery and Avoid Death. And other than that, you can unlock the Restoration skills that allow you to learn better Restoration spells like Apprentice, Adept, Expert and Master. How high you go on this one really depends on how much you need to heal. Some are better at avoiding damage than others, so if you feel you take a lot of damage, then you can unlock the higher ones. If you can avoid damage better, then there's no need to unlock the higher ones. Also, you can consider Regeneration and Dual Casting, but again, it's only necessary if you feel that you need it. For the remaining skills, we are going to work on getting through some useful perks from the remaining magicka schools. Quiet Casting allows you to transform and use howls without being detected, so we can get that from the Illusion tree. Twin Souls from the Conjuration tree can also allow you to summon several allies to help you out in battle, and this one is really important for when we are in human form. After all, we don't really have that much damage or damage resistance when in human form, so this can help protect you in between the times when you transform into a wolf. Another reason to get the Twin Souls perk is that you can combine it with the Totem of the Brotherhood to summon 4 wolves at once, so that can be very handy when you're in a tight situation in human form and you have loads of enemies to attack. Those are all the main skills and perks that are either essential or can come in handy for you as a werewolf. The final skill tree we're going to start to unlock is the Destruction Magic perks. Augment Frost and Deep Freeze will help you slow down and kill targets. Dual Cast and Impact will give you a fighting chance while waiting for your beast form to return. Also, don't forget to cast Ebony Flash, as every time it runs out, even in human form, you will need it to shoot up your defenses. Of course, don't forget to fully unlock all the beast form perks as well. So that covers all the main perks that you should try to unlock as part of our build. So next up is our weapons, armors and accessories. For our build, armor, as you already know, is ineffective in beast form, as it unequips, so the only reason to have armor in the game is when you're in human form. Since we plan to invest a lot of our skills into health, we can then use the armor as a means of gaining enough magicka to use the necessary alteration spells for the build, as you only have 100 when you start. Maybe a bit more if you invest a little bit, but not as much as you need in order to cast the right spells. So the best armor to get is going to be the Archmage's robes, and so completing the College of Winterhold as early as possible is ideal, as it gives you 15% reduction of magicka cost for all spells, and it also gives you 50 magicka and 100% magicka regeneration, so it's perfect for our character. Doing the college will also give you another item that's useful, called the Mage's Circlet. Complete the quest Good Intentions to receive it, although you should probably wait until you're level 25 or higher before doing it, as it's a leveled item. If you get it after level 25, it will give you an additional 70 magicka. Finally, you want to get the Savos Aran's Amulet that you acquire from the quest Containment to give you another 50 magicka. With the rest of the armor, you can use what you want to, but since we've unlocked some enchantment perks, we can enchant some of our own gear. For boots and gloves, there are not really any enchantments that help out with a werewolf or mage, so we opted for some useful stuff. Fortify Sneak and Muffle on the boots, Fortify Magic and Alchemy on the gloves. Finally, you have a space for a ring. You can just use any ring, and you can put Fortify Magicka and Fortify Alteration onto them. All of this gear will help you cast Ebony Flesh really easily. Some people might consider the Ring of Hircine, but it's kind of pointless. Yes, it allows you to transform more than once per day, but as it's easy enough to just wait 24 hours and transform again, it's much better to equip a ring that has some cool enchantments on it to help our character. Overall, our equipment has given us what we wanted. Enough Magicka to dual cast Ebony Flesh, which we now have, and also our Magicka regenerates really fast now. We can then use our other magic to fight or sneak and anything else we need to when we are in human form in order to just get to somewhere that's clear so we can wait and transform into a beast again. So that just leaves us with allies, enemies, companions, and a player home. As a werewolf, you're not really going to have many friends in Skyrim, but of course you can always find solace in some of the game's factions. Obviously, to become a wolf in the first place, you'll have to start the companion's questline. There are no real benefits from finishing or not finishing the quest, so really it's up to you. The same applies to the Dark Brotherhood and Thieves Guild. Doing them is really just optional. However, in order for the build to work, you will have to do the Mages Guild, so the College of Winterhold, and complete it if you're going to get the best out of your wolf character as possible. Doing this will get you the Archmage's robes and also help you gain the right skills in Alteration, allowing you to unlock Ebony Flesh and of course all the other mage skills as well. So the College of Winterhold is vital. For a companion, not many people are happy to be friends with a wolf, but one NPC who doesn't care is Ayla the Huntress, who's part of the companions. She is also only one of the few NPC followers who's both friendly to werewolves and can level up to level 50. So if you don't like to travel without a companion, she is the perfect one. Finally, for a player home, a Hearthfire home is probably best, as in beast form, you will probably be attacked on sight inside of towns and cities, and you can't really control when you transform, so it's best to stay out of towns and cities as much as possible. Well guys, there we have it, we finally reached the end of our build, but as always we don't finish there. We have one thing left to look at, and that is mods. While there is not that many mods for werewolves in game, there is one in particular that you should really download, and that's on top of the mods I recommend for every build, like Immersive Leveling, Rebalanced Level List, Ordinator, and Apocalypse, Magic of Skyrim. We only have 2 suggested mods for the build so far. The first is a simple aesthetic change to the flash spells called True Alteration Armor Visuals. This makes it so you can physically see each of the armors you cast on your character, making them more immersive, and also you can see if you have an armor on, instead of having to check your active effects. So you can more easily see when your armor runs out, and when you have to recast Ebony Flesh. The final mod is of course Moonlight Tales, which completely overhauls the werewolves in-game, giving you dozens of new perks, and like 100 different cosmetic wolf options for fur and eye colour. This applies to both wolf and werebeast, which you can also play as now in-game. It also gives you loads of other smaller wolf changes, like allowing you to customize how often you transform, based on the lunar activity. Also, probably the best thing, the ability to interact with things in beast form, like objects, so you can loot them. Really, this makes a big difference to your playthrough. Also adds in a bunch of other stuff that improves your character in human forms as well, so this is definitely the ultimate werewolf mod, and I don't think anyone should not download this one. Even if you don't use mods, it's going to make playing a wolf much more immersive. Well guys, there we have it, our third character build finished. A werewolf who focuses on Alteration as their main skill. A really tough build, I have to admit, probably the toughest one we will make, so I'm glad that it's done. If you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments, and as always, my sister wrote the backstory, so tell her in the comments what you thought of that as well. If you want to keep up to date with all of my videos, builds, mods, facts, and lore, subscribe to my channel and follow me on social media, which all the links are listed in the description. Enjoy the rest of your day guys, and I will see you all next time for more Skyrim Special Edition videos. See you then.